In the busy heart of Tel Aviv, where sirens, traffic, and wealth ran through the streets like electricity, there was one place untouched by the chaos. Room 412 of Hadar Zion Medical Center. Here worked a quiet Filipino nurse named Era Marquez. Soft voice, gentle smile, always saying P and OPO, even when no one understood what it meant. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't a specialist. She was simply Filipino, raised with warmth, discipline, and a heart that always cared first. And without knowing it, she was about to change the life of one of Israel's most powerful men, billionaire Eitan Gavriel, owner of tech empires, real estate king, a man who could buy anything except peace, until he met Era. One night, she walked in and said softly, "Good evening, Sir Eitan." He blinked. No one had spoken to him with that kind of respect in years, and for the first time he felt calm. Over the next days, Era's presence became a kind of medicine no machine could offer. She hummed Filipino lullabies, songs her grandmother used to sing. She adjusted his pillows with the gentleness Filipinos give to elders. She warmed his food like she was caring for family back home. But most important, when a panic attack hit him, and his breath became sharp and shaky, Era held his hand and whispered,
"Sir, inhale po, exhale po, kaya natin to."
Eitan felt his heartbeat steady, not because of medication, but because she cared. He realized something shocking. This Filipino woman cared more than anyone else ever had. Not because he was rich, not because he was famous, because that's what Filipinos do. Weeks passed, and Eitan's health improved more than doctors expected. But then, something happened that changed everything. The hospital announced budget cuts. Foreign nurses would be reassigned or let go. And Era was on the list. When Eitan heard the news, staff members froze. "What?" he shouted. "You're removing her? Do you understand she saved my life?" No one dared look at him. That night, Eitan sat alone in his room, staring at the ceiling. For the first time he felt fear. Not fear of dying. Fear of losing Era, the one person who made him feel human again. He picked up his phone and made one powerful call. The next morning, chaos erupted in the hospital boardroom. Eitan Gavriel, multi-billionaire, global investor, submitted an official acquisition proposal. He offered to buy the entire hospital, not a department, not a unit, all 16 floors of Hadar Zion Medical Center. His condition: Era stays, permanently, any salary, any shift, non negotiable. The board thought it was a joke, until they saw his signature, and the billions backing it. Doctors whispered, "Nobody has ever done this for a nurse." But Eitan didn't care about the headlines. He only cared about keeping the one nurse who saved not just his heart, but his will to live. When Era heard the news, she panicked. "Naku, sir, why would you do that? Hindi pa ako especial," she said, shaking her head. Eitan stared at her, eyes full of sincerity. "Era, you gave me peace when money failed. You treated me like a person, not a billionaire." Era lowered her head with humble Filipino grace. "Sir, we care pa. That's our culture. Kahit hindi namin kanawano, we help. We serve. We love." Eitan's chest tightened, not from illness, but emotion. "I wish my country had more people like you," he whispered. Era smiled, gentle, warm. "There are millions, pa. Filipinos care with their whole heart." And in that moment, the billionaire understood. He didn't want to buy a hospital. He wanted to keep the Filipino heart that saved his life. Era walked into Eitan's room the next morning with her usual calm smile, but her eyes were unsure. She bowed her head slightly, that soft Filipino gesture of respect, and said, "Sir, you shouldn't buy the hospital because of me, pa. It's too much." Eitan turned toward her, his expression gentle but determined. "Era, you don't realize what you've done for me. You gave me something money never could." She shook her head politely. "Sir, we don't give care for rewards, pa. We do it from the heart."
"Ganyan po kami pinawaki."
Those words hit him deeper than any medicine ever had. In a world where people chased wealth, Era showed him a culture where kindness was the greatest currency. But the situation outside the room grew tense. News of Eitan's plan leaked. Reporters gathered at the hospital entrance. Photographers tried to sneak inside. Doctors whispered in the hallways, unsure if they should be excited or terrified. Yet, in the middle of all this noise, Era continued serving quietly. She prepared her patients' beds, checked their meds, helped older patients walk. She even brought lumpia and pancit to the staff room.
Para po sa lahat.
Salamat sa pakikasama, she said softly. Israeli nurses stared at the food in disbelief. One whispered, she might lose her job? And she's feeding all of us? That was Filipino pride, giving even while hurting. Later that week, Era was called into a board meeting. Executives sat around a long table, papers stacked in front of them. They looked serious but also curious. One of them cleared his throat. Miss Marquez, we've never seen a patient, especially a billionaire, fight this hard for a nurse. Era bowed slightly, hands clasped politely. We want your side of the story, the director continued. Why do you think Mr. Gavriel wants to keep you so badly? Era took a gentle breath. Sir, I only want to serve Pa. I don't need special treatment. I just want to help people. Kasi payunong trabaho namin. At kultura namin.
No arrogance. No tears.
Just honesty. The entire board sat in stunned silence. That evening, Eitan requested to speak with Era privately. He sat up in his bed, looking stronger than he had in months. But his voice was heavy with emotion. Era, I built my wealth by buying things. But nothing I bought ever gave me peace. She smiled softly. Sir, peace comes from people, not from things. He looked at her, humbled. You Filipinos, you give so much of yourselves. Era nodded.
Bayanihan po.
Helping one another. Malasakit pa, care with compassion. It's who we are. Eitan's eyes softened. I wish the whole world had a heart like yours. Era lowered her gaze, shy. We just share the love pa that we were raised with. Just when everyone thought things were settling, tension rose again. The National Health Department intervened. They wanted to question Era themselves. Rumors spread fast. Some said they might reverse the hospital's decision. Others feared they might enforce Era's removal. Despite the pressure, Era stayed calm. Lord,
Ikaf na po bejale, he whispered.
She walked into a room where government officials waited with documents and serious faces. They questioned her for an hour about her conduct, her relationship with Eitan, her work ethic, even her intentions. Era answered each question with honesty, humility, and the quiet confidence of a true Filipina. When she stepped out, the entire staff applauded her. Doctors, nurses, janitors, even patients. And from his doorway, Eitan watched, proud, relieved, and emotional. This wasn't just about a nurse anymore. This was about Filipino dignity being defended in a foreign land. After the National Health Department concluded their interviews, Era returned to her shift as if nothing had happened. Calm, composed, gentle, Filipino pride and humility radiating from her every move. But Eitan's world had changed completely. He no longer cared about boardrooms, contracts, or acquisitions. All he could think about was Era, the woman who reminded him what it meant to be human. He watched her from the doorway as she moved from patient to patient. Her touch was light but confident. Her voice soft yet commanding enough to calm the most restless patients. That evening, Eitan asked her to sit beside him. I want to understand you, he said quietly. Where you come from, what made you like this? How your people live with so much kindness when the world seems so harsh. Era smiled. It's our culture, sir. Sa Pilipinas, family, faith, and community are everything. We are raised to care for each other. Kahit maharap, kahit pagod, we give love. That's how we survive. That's how we grow. Eitan's eyes softened. For the first time in decades, he felt a mixture of awe and humility. You have something my world lacks, he said. A heart, a spirit that money cannot buy. You have shown me that the richest thing in life is to give freely, without expecting anything back. Era bowed slightly, her hands folded politely. That's how we live, sir. That's our Filipino way. Days turned into weeks. Eitan's acquisition of the hospital was approved, but instead of the usual cold business deals and boardroom formalities, he insisted nothing about Era's schedule change would be altered. He arranged private rooms, upgraded equipment, and ensured the Filipino nurse could work in peace. But he made no demands beyond her comfort and freedom to serve. Meanwhile, Era quietly continued her work, unaware of the billions being spent in her honor. She spent long hours comforting patients, adjusting medicines, guiding interns, and explaining procedures with care. One evening, she led a group of young nurses in a Filipino tradition called Pahinga sa Gabi, a quiet ritual of reflection, sharing stories, and gratitude before sleeping. Eitan observed silently. He watched Era encourage her colleagues, teach them patience, and help them laugh through exhaustion. Era's laughter, warm, gentle, full of light, echoed down the hospital corridors. Eitan whispered to himself, I spent years chasing power, chasing control, and all it took to understand life was one Filipino nurse and her heart. But it wasn't only her kindness that impressed him. Era was courageous. One stormy night, the hospital power failed. Patients panicked. Machines beeped erratically. Alarms blared. Doctors rushed, but the scene was chaos. Era remained calm, Filipino calm. She guided patients, manually operated equipment, and coordinated emergency generators. She soothed children crying, calmed elderly patients shaking with fear, and reassured doctors who were near panic. Eitan watched from the VIP suite, powerless to help, realizing she could handle a crisis better than most executives he had ever employed. After the lights returned, he approached her, voice low and emotional. Era, you didn't just save them, you saved the hospital. You saved lives without even thinking about yourself. Era blushed, bowing her head, in typical Filipino humility. It's our duty. We serve because it is our calling, not for recognition. Eitan shook his head, silently marveling at the courage, humility, and strength combined in this single woman. Months passed. Eitan's admiration turned into action. He created the Maria Marquez Filipino Nursing Scholarship, ensuring that students from the Philippines could study medicine and nursing abroad. Hospitals benefited. Communities in Iloilo, Cebu, and Manila gained trained professionals. Eitan visited the Philippines once, witnessing firsthand the generosity, resilience, and warmth that had shaped Era. He saw families who lived with little but laughed abundantly. He saw neighbors rebuilding homes together after storms. He saw nurses and teachers working tirelessly, embodying the Filipino spirit he had come to cherish. When asked why he donated millions, Eitan's response was simple. One nurse taught me more about humanity than I learned in decades of wealth and power. I owe her and her people everything. And for Era, the recognition didn't change her. She continued her work, greeting each patient with a smile and the same Filipino phrase she always used. Opo, pa, and maraming salamat. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Years later, Eitan passed peacefully. Before he died, he left a letter addressed to Era. To Era, you didn't just save my life. You reminded me what it means to be human. Your kindness, your courage, and your humility are treasures the world cannot measure. Your people, your culture, and your heart changed me. I will carry that forever. With gratitude, Eitan Gabriel. Era folded the letter carefully, tears streaming silently. Even after Eitan's death, hundreds of Filipino nurses continued the scholarship program he started. Hospitals across the world benefited. Communities thrived. And every time a patient smiled because of a Filipino nurse, Era whispered softly, "This is what we do. This is who we are. Kayat maharap, kayat pagid. We serve, we care, and we love. Because Filipinos are not just caregivers. They are healers of the body, the spirit, and the soul. And once, just once, they changed the life of a billionaire forever."